Hi, this is an Autocad 2D drawing exercise, and what we're going to do is do the first floor layout of the Villa Savoye by Le Corbusier. There's an accompanying PDF file which you'll find in the link to that in the description. Actually, it's a link to a zip file which has all the components inside, and once you unzip the zip file, these are the files that you'll find. So there's a CTB file which we refer to later on. A lot of the kind of layout we're just going to drop in. We're just going to do the main walls of the building, so rather than leave it kind of sparse, we'll drop in the rest of it. We'll start the drawing using a template so that the layer names are all set up. Makes things a bit quicker. And we'll also drop in a title box, so that's an attributed block, so that will ask you questions when it arrives in the drawing. And the title box has a small graphic on it, and that's what the BMP file is. It's a tiny little thumbnail sketch of Villa Savoye. Okay, so we'll get moving. First thing it's saying here in the instructions is to set your pick box to 6 and dynamic mode to 0, just to make things a bit easier to work with, and then we will move on to drawing the grid for the building, which we will then add columns to. So let's get it moving. So what we're going to do is start with a new file. Okay, but what I'm going to do is use the new command from up here, because this will force it to use to look and browse for a template file. So if we go from new from here, okay, so instead of using the standard template, which is this one, what we'll do is browse to the folder that I've got with the materials in. So, you know, wherever you've downloaded this to, this is where you'll find it. So it should be called a folder called Savoye Resources. Okay, and there's Savoye Template, and open. Okay, so if I look at the layers list here, you see we've got quite a few layers to work with, and should be good to go. Okay, so the first things were pick box, enter, and I've got that set to a value of 6, and then dynamic mode, dyn mode, and set that, let's try that again, dyn mode, and set that to 0. Okay, remember you will need to be in the drafting and annotation workspace. This could be completed in the 3D workspace, but there's no 3D work. Okay, so the first layer we will use is grid. Okay, and that has a line type set to it, so if I just drop the layers list down, you'll see that the grid has got a line type center 2. Okay, so instructions for this are to draw a line from 0, 20,000 millimeters in this direction, 22,500 millimeters in this direction, and then we set up the offsets. So for the vertical grid lines, they're at 5,000 millimeter offsets. For the horizontal grid lines, it's at 1250, then 5,000s, then finish with a 1250. Okay. So let's just close this one because it was empty. And we start off with a line command. So I generally type in my command names. You know, obviously you can use icons as well, but I find typing them in is a bit quicker. So just letter L for line and enter. And we're going to start at 0, 0. So 0, 0, enter. Okay, we'll put ortho on. And in this direction it was 20,000, enter to stop, and then a vertical grid line from the end of the first grid line at 0, 0, and this one was 22,500, enter to stop. Okay, hold your middle mouse button, you can bring that into the middle a bit more. Okay, so the vertical offsets were 5,000, so we've got offset here, or O and enter. So 5,000, enter. So notice the pick box is a reasonably big size, makes it a bit easier to work with. So you pick, choose your side and pick again. Pick the newest one, choose the side, pick again. Okay, repeat that until we get to the end of the first grid line there. Enter twice, because we want to stop the offset command but then reuse it, but with a different offset distance first of 1250. Okay, take this line up, then we go to the 5,000s, so enter twice, 5,000. Okay, so we want 4 more of these, so that's 2, 3, 4, and then finish with a 1250. You could have drawn a line from end point to end point, it would have been the same. Okay, escape to stop the offset command. Okay, next job, if we go to the PDF, go to the next page, and that's to initially fill the middle grid with square columns, but then make some modifications, because there's some columns that get deleted, there's a column that gets moved, and there's some columns that get replaced by circular ones. So there's a fair few kind of subtasks on this one. But the first one is to draw a square. We're using a polygon command, draw a square at position A, and then we array it using these settings. Okay, so let's just zoom in a bit closer on the PDF so we can see the numbers there. Okay, so these are the settings for the array command. Okay, so initially use the polygon command, number of sides 4. Okay, circumscribed, and that sets up the direction for the square properly. Okay, so jump down to here. So position A is here, it's not at 0, 0. Position A is here. Okay, so the command is polygon, so we could use pol, and polygon, I think it's lurking under here, but I'm just going to type it in. So pol, number of sides 4, that's the default size. Okay, oh, actually we want to be on the columns layer here, so change to the columns layer before we start. Okay, so pol, let's check our object snaps, see what we've got here. So I think we'll probably need endpoint, midpoint, we won't need node, intersection is useful, and so is perpendicular. Okay, so we'll add those on. Number of sides 4, so you press enter at that, we'll center it here. We then get a choice of inscribed or circumscribed. Let's go for circumscribed. Okay, so you notice the arrangement of the square suits the grid. Okay, and the radius 125. Okay, then we array this to fill the grid. Okay, so we've got the array command here. It tells me to select the object, enter. Okay, so that's the default setup, is a 4x3 grid, so 4x3 with only 375 between them. What we want is 5x5. Okay, that one's not changed yet, let's make sure it does, that's better. And then between them we want 5,000, so we'll start to lose the grid now, it'll start to disappear. Okay, by 5,000. Okay, it doesn't need to be associative. Okay, hit the green tick, and that's it created. So if we zoom out, just roll the mouse, okay, we can see the grid. Okay, so taking the tick off associative means that it's not all joined together. If you forget to take the tick off associative, then you need to explode the array to get individual columns. because we now need to take some away. Okay, so what I'm going to do is kind of move this to one side and have the PDF visible as well, so we get this right. Okay, let's reduce that. And let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so in the instructions here we're saying erase columns at B, C, D and E. Okay, erase columns at B, C, D and E. Okay, so this one goes, so there's this one, so there's this one, so there's this one. Okay, so that's the erases. Okay, draw a circle at B and at E, radius 125. Okay, so remember B and E are these two gaps. Okay, so let's get a bit closer so we can see that. So we want a circle, so we could use the letter C and enter. Intersection here, radius 125. Same again at this intersection, midpoint's okay. Same radius, I just press enter. Okay, now that one stays where it is, but this one gets copied to the side and then the original one moved. Okay, so the instructions for that. Okay, so it's copy column B to the right by 1625, move the column at B to the left by 1625. Okay, so that's what we're seeing. Keep jumping page. Okay, so copy to the right, move to the left. Okay, so it's copy, pick the object, enter. Base point can be anywhere because we're going relative to the pick point. So it's 1625, enter, enter to stop, and then move the original. So move, pick, enter. Base point can be anywhere. Set your destination, set your direction, and then 1625. Okay, so that gets those columns spaced out evenly, and these ones are kind of more visible inside the rooms, and they want to be a bit more kind of decorative. Okay, final column operation is to move the column at F. Okay, so we're moving the one at F by 1625. Okay, move column at F to the right by 1625. Okay, so move this column, enter. Your base point can be anywhere because you're going relative to that base point. Okay, 1625. Good. So that's made a good start. So I think at the end of here, I think there is a final instruction to say save the file, or maybe we do that after we've... No, we're not saving just yet, but we could. I think we should. We've done this amount of work, you may as well save. So red letter A, save as. Okay, now if I were you, I would save it back into the folder that the other material's in, and that way you're not going to lose connection with the bitmap that's on the that you'll find on the title box. So wherever you've unzipped your folder to, that's where you want to save it back to. Okay, so I'm going to save mine into here, and I'm just going to call it Savoye. Okay, so where are we at next? We're on to task 3 page. Okay, so this is looking at creating the walls for the building. So there's quite a lot of smaller tasks here. So we're going to start with this one. So I've kind of numbered them with they're all part of task 3. So it's 3A, 3B, but this one, this, and this, they're all the same shape, so there's only really no point in drawing it 5 times. So we draw it once, and we can then either copy it or mirror it to the other side, and then mirror these to the top, and then we just need to copy one of them to the side. Okay, so that is quite a little bit of work in doing that. Okay, so that takes us to 3C, and then we've got some kind of fairly basic drawing for D, E, F, G, and H, and then there's a more tricky bit here with these kind of curved walls, and we cover that with another page with a bit more detail so we can see what's happening in that area. Okay, so we'll start off with this one, 3A. So what we do is we temporarily use the grid lines to help us position where the walls need to be. So we're offsetting grid lines more often than not. Okay, so it's a 2500 offset, and then we just draw up from the corners of the column. Okay, so we're looking at this position here, so let's get in a bit closer. Okay, let's use offset from here now, and it was 2500. Take this line up, okay, escape, and then just regular lines. We want to be on layer walls now. Okay, so a line from here, perpendicular, enter twice, perpendicular, and then across to endpoint. And clear away the spare grid lines as you go, because you don't want to leave them behind. Okay, so that was 3A. 3B, fairly similar. Okay, we don't need to do an offset to start off with though. We can go from corner, and I need to go perpendicular to this line. So what I'm doing is leaving my cursor over the line and then tapping the tab key until perpendicular shows up where I need it. Enter to stop. Enter to bring back the command, perpendicular, endpoint. Now it would be better to draw that as a polyline. Okay, it was a wee bit difficult to do that with the kind of shape missing. Okay, so what we can do is we could take away these two now and reinstate that as a polyline, because when we copy it across and mirror it, it's kind of, if it's in bits, it's a bit messy. So we'll go for a polyline next. Okay, so we can go from endpoint to endpoint to endpoint to endpoint. Enter to stop. Okay, now remember there's two lines under here, so I'm just going to do a selection. I've got no command active. Just do a selection there and press delete. And that just gets rid of that little line that was left previously. Okay, so that's a three-sided shape. That's going to be a bit easier to copy. We don't have to worry about leaving a small bit behind. Okay, so we could mirror that. Mirror, pick the object. No, a little bit of an issue here. See, the line's a bit thicker than normal. Right, now that's what has happened is there's a thickness setting on my polyline command. So I'm just going to have to deal with that. So use the pedit command, PE, enter, pick the line, choose width, and set it to 0. Okay, it wasn't highlighting correctly, so that's a bit of a problem there. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that doesn't happen. That's something that's inside the template, or it could, yeah, it's inside the template. It's not inside my Autocad, so we need to deal with that. Okay, let's try the mirror now. We should see this pick properly this time. So mirror, pick the object, enter. We want to mirror about either the end point or the midpoint here. Ortho's on, drag downwards, pick, enter to finish because we don't want to lose the originals. Okay, now we want to mirror two objects using either the end point or midpoint or intersections along here. So it's mirror again, pick one shape, two shapes, enter. All sorts of different positions we could choose here. Midpoint, drag outwards, you can see the ghosts appearing at the top. Select again, enter to stop. Okay, so that's 3B1, 3B2, 3B3, 3B4. And the last one is just a copy of this. Lots of positions we could use for base points. We could either use the end of the grid line, we could use a corner of the column, intersection of the grid line. So copy, pick the shape, enter, base point, destination point. As long as you're using the O-snaps properly, we'll end up with things fairly accurate. Good, that's done a lot of the fiddly small ones. Let's have a quick look at the PDF, see which one we should do next. So we're doing D and E, they're just joining corners of grid lines. So nice easy ones there. So these are just lines. Let me draw them. Just enter twice in between. It's a bit quicker than going and picking the icons again. Now while we're just drawing lines, just take a couple of lines up from here. Okay, I'm taking them a little bit further than halfway across that grid. Okay, now keep going with this. Take a line from here across, so we're kind of roughing in the shape and then we'll tidy it up. Okay, mirror these two lines using this line. Mirror, pick one, two, enter. I can use a midpoint or an intersection there. Drag down. I can click this point as well if I wish. Enter to stop. Okay, so then all we're missing is two lines across here and we've got the kind of up and over shape that we need. Okay, so you see here I've got an offset distance of 2375 there, and then the walls are all 250 thick, so we'd offset that again by 250. So it's 2375. Now let's just check it's a grid line up 2375. So offset 2375, enter, grid line up, enter twice, offset 250, take this line up again. Okay, so this is a bit more like kind of regular design drawing. We end up with a kind of a bit of a mess, things on wrong layers, things that don't meet. We need a bit of tidying here. So press escape. So I'm going to try and use the fillet command for all of this. So fillet, check that the radius is 0. Okay, take this line to this bit. It's got to be this little bit here. Enter, pick this bit, take it up to this line. So that creates the wall end, and then we've just got corners to create here. So enter to bring back the command, pick, pick, enter, pick, pick, enter, pick, pick, enter, pick, pick. Fillets, really is the quickest method in that kind of situation. Okay, to get things onto the correct layers, if you use match properties, pick the source object, so the layer you want to mimic, and then apply that to the things that are on the wrong layer. Escape. Okay, so that's shaping up. So what have we got to do next? So we're in here now. So G is a kind of an L shape, but it's set back from the grid 1, 2, 5. Okay, so you recognize the kind of numbers are kind of getting a bit more commonplace now. 2375, then a 250. Okay, here though, you can see that the wall, if I zoom in a bit closer on that, you can see that the wall is centered. It's centered on the grid. Okay, so it's going to be 125 millimeters each way, but we're just drawing down from the column anyway. Okay, so we're in this position. So let's draw a couple of lines down from the column. Okay. We don't need to do a 125 mm offset because we know that half of the column is 125 anyway. So we could draw another line from here, but where the 2375 is, that's more difficult to ascertain. So 2375 down from the grid line. So offset 2375, enter, take this line down, and then down again by 250. And then it's a similar job in doing the fillets. So I always generally go for the trickier bit first. So we're wanting to form the wall end. So it's fillet, long line, and this is the end of the wall we want to keep. Enter, pick the wall end, and then the main line. Enter, pick, enter, pick. Match properties. While we can see them clearly, change them onto the wall layer. Okay, so that's G. H is a fair bit of repetition here. So what we could do is mirror these lines, and we've pretty much got H, just a little bit of tidying up. Okay, so it's mirror, pick 1, 2, 3, 4, enter. We're mirroring around this line, drag out, click, enter to stop, and then we just need to extend this and form the corner. So it's fillet again. Okay, looking good. Now what we've got left is the kind of trickier portion that's inside here. So you can see we've got this more tricky shape with the circles, with the half circles, and this is where we'll be better to go to the next page where we can see this a bit clearer. Let's zoom out a bit. Okay, so to get this, what we need to do is firstly establish where the centers of these circles are, and that's what these dimensions are showing here. We've got 125 up, then 850, okay, and then from this side it's 1225. The radiuses of both circles are the same, there's 750, so that's all we need to draw in first. Get these two circles drawn, centered at these two positions. So it's a 125, then an 850, and then vertically a 1225. Okay, so it's offset 125, offset again by 850, offset sideways by 1225. Okay, so we've got a circle centered here and a circle centered here. Now, even though those grid lines don't look like they're actually crossing each other, they should create a center, an intersection. Let's just check that. So circle from intersection, and mine's gone blank, I forgot what the radius was, 750. Let's go back then. So circle, it's not offering me intersection now. This is where the tab key comes in handy to find the intersection. Radius 750. Another circle centered here. Tab to get the intersection. Perpendicular is not a safe object snap to use to start off with, and a radius 750 again. Okay, now straight away let's use these two grid lines to chop off half of the circles. Okay, now the trim command is now a bit fiddlier because it's kind of looking for lots of trim positions, so we can still use it, but we kind of have to do four selections there. Okay, that looks okay. So some of these bits of grid line are still usable, so we don't want to necessarily delete them just yet. Okay, but we can draw a line down from there. Okay, and these will offset in the way by 250. So offset 250. Need a command first. Offset 250. Enter. We'll bring these inwards. Okay, make sure you bring them inwards. The toilet is a bit big if you take them outwards. Okay, so this can offset 250. So that one goes up 250. Okay, so we've just created that offset. This one we can just draw from the corner of the cone. Okay, this wall extends beyond the grid line by the distance, so it's in line with the column. Okay, so a few more little lines to add before we can finish off. So one here, so that's going to form the wall end there, and we need another little line across here. Let's just collide that, just let it overlap so we can fillet it correctly. Okay, this grid line is a little bit extensive, it's going to be a little bit difficult to edit, so I am actually going to delete that one and just draw a line in its place. Okay, the rest of the work should be fillets. So a fillet, join these two, enter, join these two, enter, join these two, and then we've just got the wall end to create, and that's it done. That's the trickier bit. This grid line's spare, that can go, don't need that, and then we've just got a tiny bit of match properties to do. Done. So that's all our walls in place. So we could, there'd be a lot of work in adding the rest of the partitions. It'd be way too much. It'd take the exercise would take a very long time. So once you're able to kind of create walls in that way, you'd be able to create any layout. So let's just save that, and then we'll pause. We'll stop the video at this point because that's just over half an hour.